think maybe one of my first videos for computer science class. Um, I wanted to take the time to actually walk you through this last and final tag we're going to use because in the past couple of years, students have kind of stumbled around with this tag. So last week, we learned how to make custom colors and just how to make our websites look more legit. This week, we're going to learn how to change specific parts of our website beyond just using heading 2, heading 5, paragraph, those types of selectors. So if we look at this, last week I said change heading 2 to make it have your spring color and change heading 5 to make it have your autumn color. So these are the colors I chose for myself. My spring color, which is heading 2, which is the season name, was a bright green. And then heading 5, which is all these adjectives that describe the season, that's my autumn color, which is a nice bright orange. So those were my colors. You could have chosen something different. But that's what your website should look like now on Bubble 6. The first couple ones for winter are all this nice, cold, light blue. But then all these other ones are different colors based on what custom color you chose for spring and autumn. Today we're going to look at how did code.org have this winter blue color show up for heading 2 and heading 5, and everything like that. And what they used is called a class. So if we notice in our HTML page, our index page, right here for like heading 2, inside of the inequality signs, they actually say class is equal to winter inside quotation marks. That's very important. This is the name that they chose for the class, which is what they just chose, winter, right? And they have that. Class is equal to winter in quotation marks for heading 2 and heading 5. All of these heading 5s, right? And if we go into our CSS, you might have noticed this. Down here for winter, they actually have something that we've never seen before. Instead of one of our tags from HTML, we have this brand new word, color, which we know is going to change the text color, and then our custom RGB, right? So there's a couple things. I put it into our tag notes that you see on the top of your journal. I put in some type notes there. But the first thing I want to point out is when we're on the CSS file, right, style.css, we have the class name and we have a period at the start of it. That period is very important. That might be something you forget unless you write that down and make sure you remember. So instead of having one of our selectors, one of our HTML tags in front of this curly bracket, we can put any word. We just have to have it start with a period. And then we can use that class name, that word, to designate certain parts of our website that get whatever we want to change. So here the first instruction was actually to fix this line right here so that way snowy shows up as that light blue. So to do that, we go inside of the inequalities, and I want you doing this with me. So once I describe it, you pause the video and then go in and do it. We want to actually change this to inside. We want to type space class equal sign quotation mark winter quotation mark, and make sure that you changed your keyboard setting. I misspelled winter, so nothing's changed yet. I spelled winter correctly now, and we can see how snowy turned from the orange to match everything else as that nice gray light blue color. What we're going to do next is we should all have the same type of color for summer. So let's walk through how to actually do this for summer. And I do believe this is actually the instructions for bubble number 8. So let's go to bubble 8. That's how we have it all have the same color. Okay, so let's take a look at that real fast. They say let's actually change the font as well. So we go into style.css, we go to our winter, right? Remember how for font, we want the font family because each computer can set a different one. And if you take your time and write it, you can see how here we have our preset options. Maybe because it's windy during the winter, you want cursive because it kind of looks like it is blowing in the wind. And notice how we changed one thing inside of the winter on the CSS and all of our text has changed on our preview, right? I could change that to fantasy, right? And then it changes how it looks, everything that we designated as winter. But let's change that back to cursive. So add this, you don't have to have the same font family as me, but change that on bubble 8, and let's move to bubble 9. And let's try to do the summer together from scratch. Okay, we're just gonna not follow the directions. I'll have you do spring and autumn on your own, but because we should all have the same color for summer, I wanna do that together. So on bubble 9, we're just gonna do all this stuff for summer. All right, so first things first, let's actually make it in our CSS. They have one for spring already. Let's not get rid of that. Let's make one for summer ourselves. So we do dot, our period, right? And then SUMMER for summer. You could have summer class. You can name it whatever you want. It just cannot have any spaces in it. You could say summer bright. And then you can make summer dark. You can do all these different things, but just make sure that your class name has no spaces in it. All right, so let's go in. We made it up. We want to change the color. And then from last week, we should have picked something similar to this. For our yellow that summer is, the answer according to code.org was 255 for red, 230 for green, and 100 for blue. And then we put that semicolon there to finish it off. So everything's set up. Nothing's changed in our preview though, because we need to go in and actually type that class name next to everything that we want to put in that class. So we go back to our HTML page, our file, sorry. Find our code for summer. And then now we can put our class designation inside of the inequalities. So we do class is equal to, and then quotation mark, summer. Right, and then we can see if it was updating it, which it did, perfect. And then I'm going to be lazy and just copy and paste these into all the other tags. All right, so then if we scroll down to summer, beautiful. They're all yellow. I even want to change the paragraph underneath the stock photo to yellow since that is our summer photo. Perfect. It also said change the font, so let's go back to CSS. Summer. Let's see what my options are again. Let's do serif. Right, serif is when they have those extra little tails on all the letters. To me, that looks like summer. You don't have to use the same font family as me, but that's how we use classes. It allows us to change certain pieces of our web page to different colors, font families, font decorations. You can have one that's called scary, and just any font on your website that you want to look scary, you can change it to blood red or like slime green or something like that. If you're making a website about creatures from mythology, you can have certain text that goes with elf versus troll versus whatever, and whenever you talk about an elf, you can have it in the class destination for elf. You can do this for lots of different things on websites that we visit. Sometimes they put specific text that is for sale items in a different color than for normal items. In news articles, sometimes we want the caption underneath the photo, which is the paragraph, to be italicized, but we want the other text that's just in our article to be normal. But both of those would be the paragraph tag. So we would use class to make sure that we can say if our paragraph tag is a caption, we can use the caption class to make it italicized and maybe a bit smaller. So we can use classes now to make our websites even look more detailed, have a more legitimate looking feel to it, and have it more personalized for how we want it to look. So tomorrow, trying to space this out so that way you can really grasp the idea. Tomorrow you're going to go in and do bubble 10. And bubble 10, again, we already did summer together, so now you do it for spring and autumn. If you do want to call autumn fall, I'm fine with that. But you have to make a class for autumn, and then you have to change the color and font for both spring and autumn. And I'll be checking that and putting in a grade for that if you can use classes for spring and autumn to change the color and font. Later in the week, you're going to go in and fiddle around with the website from last project just to see if you can use some more classes with that. And then next week, you'll decide if you want to keep working on the same website for the project that you'll turn in next week, or if you want to make a whole brand new one about a new topic and do the HTML and CSS coding all next week to have a website ready to turn in at the end of next week that uses all of this new CSS code. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always available from 8 to 10:30 in the morning. Just sign into the Google Meet that I post frequently, just reminding you guys that that option exists. And then I'm also available on Tuesdays and Fridays. It's different. So period 3, I'm available from 11 to noon on both Tuesday and Friday. And then for period 6, that is from noon to 1, I'm available on Tuesdays and Fridays for the 6th period class. But again, you can always email me or post on Google Classroom. I try to respond very quickly. Some of you guys have noticed that. I go in and look at yourcode.org if you have questions about it and try to give you as detailed as a response as possible to make sure that you're never feeling lost or confused. Let me know if you have any questions so I can be there to support you. All right, good luck and let me know how it goes.